Hello, everyone, and welcome to my 500 subscriber special. Which, given how there's been a few more, or since I hit that milestone, and started working this out, I'm already thinking of ideas for what comes next. And with that in mind, it's been a little over a year since the Switch 2 debuted, and despite some skepticism around certain aspects, I'll admit that such a day's video being having like an $8 list price was admittedly may have caused skepticism, as was other factors. But as per usual, I'm a person that tries to reserve judgment until I actually experience something, especially playing it. And it's second only to the Game Boy Advance as the best-selling system ever, as the fastest selling system ever, helped by having a, a representation from multiple big franchises as in the first year of launch alone, including a subject today, Mario Kart. As someone who has played every installment to date, including ones that are a bit more obscure, like the now defunct mobile spin-off, and that one which actually had a physical whole oh, cart you could have maneuver in your place. I definitely was eager to see what happened, especially since one aspect of the game, as each installment not only has aspects that often become key fixtures going forward, but also unique ones. That one actually sold me on it. So I'm not the kind of person that judges as like a game's map on the stuff inside of it. Rather, I prefer to judge it on how fun it is to explore it. And now, after some illness-induced delay and about 150 hours logged, I'm gonna explain how much I enjoy it. Here is how Mario Kart World, in my view, made a brilliant free-roam map. Let's get started. When they first revealed the free-roam map as part of the game's major hook, it will come up a few more times and will be a tied to the other points I'll be making here, here. Admittedly, not everyone knew what to expect. Some people are skeptical about how the cards themselves were changed to reflect this. However, the first time I sat down with it, I actually realized realized as it was another example of it being multiple kind of games in one. A kart racer, an open world sandbox title, and what often gets overlooked, functionally also being a collectathon platformer, which in the 30 years since Super Mario 64 saw release is is I've always enjoyed how they built upon that concept. On that note, there are three major ways things to collect and to not just open up more of the map, but also to get secrets. I mean, the question mark switches, the P buttons, and the Peach medallions. And, and this will also tie into other points we'll be making here, here. And even as the collectible platformer entered a bit of a lull hole in years past, I am grateful that these are developers that never stopped trying to build upon these ideas, is trying to set the pace as opposed to trying to latch on to something that would define, to me at least, short-term gain, long-term loss. I mean, I'll definitely be touching upon this yet again, and before I move on to the next point, and I just really enjoy just seeing how much there is to be found. Whether it's something as simple or as an homage to the original Mario circuits and Super Nintendo game, or DK Spaceport being like a space age version of the original station Donkey Kong, um, to being lucky enough to get hit into a UFO to reach a medallion you've been trying to grab. I really enjoy things like that. Another aspect I really enjoy about the game's map is how it uses sound to draw into the world. I mean, and how the transitions between songs are actually not only pretty seamless, but also can connect to whichever part of the map you're exploring. I mean, with if you're on Salty Speedway, you may very well find your heart melted by a cool island and song. Fittingly, often El Delfino of Mario Sunshine. Ein, when you're reaching Crown City, one heck of a diamond by the sea, he, you could experience anything from big band arrangements, elements to smooth funk to electro, depending on which racer or even cosmetic you're playing him with, man. And of course, I like how each character has a distinctive approach. Like even when performing similar actions, and how they took a great care to make them not all sound or play like the same race or different skin, and and that an action from Bowser would obviously be distinctly different from one from Rosalina, so to speak. Again, even though I'm not entirely sure what I need to do to unlock the secret character, her that's the last one on my checklist once the completion, I believe. I appreciate how they manage to use music and sound to really draw you in there. I even saw live recordings of the orchestra playing in tune with the game before it was about to come which I actually like whenever where they do that. I mean, we seem to have come a long way from um, all these Big Crush chip tunes, to say the least. But even then, I also like how they even, when you do come across course of homages to who the original SNES game, aim, aim, that sound font just still really does it for me. This is coming from someone who actually started with Mario 64 in '97 and even went back and played the Super Nintendo game AIM, because of how much I enjoyed it. It's I actually still remember seeing ads for that one on a Nickelodeon all the time a while ago. Hmm. One of the things I always approve of is the idea of intrinsic learning in a game. I've never before tutorials have never really been that useful for me. I've always had a bit more enjoyment of being able to who 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 actually learn how to play the game through playing it, and this map actually managed to nail that beautifully to not only figure out where boundaries are, but also figuring out different ways of solving jumping puzzles or finding different ways to get secrets or clear obstacles. I mean, in fact, at I actually got another medallion that I had been wasn't even aware there was even there previously before I even recorded this, as through the right combination and of the feather and the turbo mushroom, whom just out of a corner of my eye, I again that builds upon an idea that has been iterated upon on Super Mario 64, or and it's definitely something I much prefer. And given how a lot of the courses is in the map also part of the usual Grand Prix as well as the knockout tour modes, the latter which actually got stealth drop updates hey before I even started making this this it actually can help you a lot to find things like shortcuts, huts, and other ways to navigate the course main. I always appreciate that when one thing that you pick up from part of the environment can, or a different mode, can be carried over into others. Just like how you might not always be able to do all the more elaborate combos of fighting game right away. Hey, but if you can learn basic inputs and basic special moves almost for one person, then it can easily spread to much, much more. Or, I mean, forcing you to sit down onto a winded tutorial is one thing, but the intrinsic learning on your time is something I will always prefer. Always. Though, as processing power has advanced, we have not been able to completely eliminate load screens. Means we have managed to come up with more and more ways to hide them visually without taking you out of the game. Some of them are obvious. Obvious mean like a walk and talk sequence here, a crevasse to slip through there, here, here. However, other people get even more creative, which is definitely entertaining and also a way to show off the advancements they've made. It's actually quite well documented that, that this game was actually began life on the base Switch, which seems to be winding down, at least in Europe, uh, before moving development to the new system, and and definitely it's got some very clever tricks to hide the load screens, means visually. There's a reason why I brought up the P buttons fairly early on like they actually show you who or what you need to do for the challenge and where you need to do it, while also positioning your character in such a way that gets them on the right track in more than one. On that subject, that I actually really enjoy how it manages to take full advantage of the idea of how games can just do things that cannot be done in real life. I mean, sure, I can appreciate it's the realism that the likes of Sony and Microsoft oft can bring to their titles, even though I don't really appreciate much else I've been doing as a business lately, to be another time. Sometimes it's a simple joy of being able to go from a vast desert to a snow-covered tundra, uh, to an ice cream sundae, the size of the Chrysler Building, and, and have that be a source of entertainment, as with all the cosmetics you can get from the consumables, was that from Yoshi's. I still maintain I was never against Donkey Kong's new design, pointing out how it had precedent in the earlier titles from the 80s, and also being fairly documented that initially, a, before the heroes were even created, that they want to make a Popeye game, and with Mario being like our Popeye, I Pauline being like our olive oil, and DK basically being like our Bluto or Brutus, depending on whether you're going by the cartoons or the comics canon, and 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 naturally, I also like how expressive the individual racers are, are that even in just in single player here, I had to say to myself, did I just get blue shelled by I a princess that's an infant? Looks like I did. And now it's time to bring it all home in my final points for this video. Now, well, to bring it all together, Heather, we come right back to where we started. How it's not merely really just as a racing or open world driving game, but in many respects, a collectathon platformer on wheels, where it is one thing when you're trying to grab something thing on legs, but it's another when you're trying to do it on a racing cart or motorcycle. I tend to use the bikes more often than ever, given the change in the meta, which is still being implemented. Still, I do like the idea of experimenting with different items, different carts, different racers, there's all of which fall under the same common goal. Oh, actually, hey, going through and grabbing as much as you can and leaping over great distances, is crossing seas, gliding through the air, and riding the rails on train tracks, as well as on telephone lines or suspension bridges on wheels. That in itself oh, was the concept that actually sold me. Hey, there have been features that have been unique to each installment on moments. I mean, like the twin racers in Double Dash, as the custom kart sigils in the DS game. Hey, I always like to add ones with other Nintendo franchises, say like Triforce, or or Metroid Hashlanes, Pokemon characters, and also other pop culture ones, say like superhero hero symbols, things like that, like Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, X-Men, like also I threw in Captain America Shield on Tony Stark's arc reactor at one point as well, man. And with and Well, there have been others that have also become staples, like how again the aforementioned Metal Gear 64 brought in the simultaneous multiplayer and the dreaded blue shell, which come from the difference between victory and defeat for many a racer. Or Mario Kart Wii, he brought in the motorcycles, which are easier to do turbo boosts with, and also why I've been making those mainly. He and still, what's coming back is not just the recurring features, but each installment having one unique hook that gets me in there. Here, I mean, here, and I can definitely say that making this has not only a launch title, but having the multiple SKUs where this is a pack-in was a calculated move, given how the previous installments, especially the deluxe version on Switch, has become the best-selling kart racer ever. Her, and naturally, it's also proven that's been a very friendly console for kart racers. Spain, not just like Sonic Racing Crossworlds was also enjoyed, but Kirby Air Riders being a pleasant surprise to one of the more cult classic racing titles of years past. I can see the original coming GameCube classics while I'm on that. F-Zero GX being a launch title for GameCube classics is also very fun. I have not tried the indie Fast Fusion yet, but I've heard it's good. And all in all, I can definitely thank Mario Kart World for designing, in my view, a brilliant 3-round map. I also want to thank you all once again for 500 subscribers, and I hope to see you all again very soon. Take care, everyone. That's the goal.